Good evening, everyone.
Green light, go, go, go.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the final round of the season here at the ACC Race Nation Championship. We're here at Spa-Francorchamps for round 9 of what has already been a fabulous season. We've got cars out on circuit, ready for qualifying. 22 of the finest ACC Race Nation drivers on circuit. Well, they would say the finest 22. Some of them within the lobby would say 22, with a few crazy drivers in there as well. I'm Jack, your commentator for this evening. Hopefully the audio is coming through okay. If there are any issues, please do let me know during the stream. Also want to take this moment to just talk a little bit briefly about the commentating situation that I've got to navigate this evening. It seems that with Assetto Corsa's spectator mode, that there are a few issues when it comes to trying to navigate around drivers. Why that is, I've been racking my brain and working technically on that for the last hour, but we will have to make do during qualifying. So if it does seem like the cars, or rather the action jumps from place to place, it's not intentional, it's just how the stream is working out, and it's also how the game seems to be flicking between drivers. The other thing as well you'll see in the top right corner is where it says hide UI, camera select, drive select, etc. If I touch the square button, it completely crashes the game. I'm unsure why that is, but it's something that I'm no longer allowed to press square for the next 2.5 hours. So we will see how we get on, and we'll do what we can, and I'm sure that today the drivers will be able to put on just a brilliant display in this finale. The championship is still up for grabs in this final race, but with it being a 2-hour race this evening as opposed to the standard 1 hour, drivers are going to have to be absolutely on the ball when it comes to consistency. Spa is not an easy track in the slightest, with its 20 corners that it has all around this wonderful circuit, but equally, for that length of time, the drivers have got to be absolutely accurate and spot on with their apexes and making sure that tyre wear doesn't fall apart for them whilst they're out on track. Now, we're following at the moment Calti 122, the number 24 Ferrari 296 GT3 car, flying down Eau Rouge, up through Radion, and now onto the Camel Straight. These Ferraris are very quick in a straight line. Not the quickest. That would go to the honour of the Ford Mustangs. You'll see a couple of those out on circuit. We've got the yellow flag. Someone went off the road just up ahead of us. Out of the way for Calti though. No problems there. Flicks the car through Lacombe and then right through the gears towards turn 10. This is Bruxelles on the brakes, down into second gear for the Ferrari. Runs a little bit wide, but pulls the apex back later on through the corner. Then it's into turn number 11 there. No name for that corner as we approach Poo on now. We've got cars in front that are on their outlap, so they need to jump out of the way. But the Ferrari running a little bit wide, missing that apex there. Not ideal. Still 15 minutes to go in this session for those that are brand new to ACC Race Nation. We've got a 20-minute qualifying, and the drivers will be able to set a few laps as the cars up front kick up the dirt. We've got Zout just in front of us, and he gets out of the way very nicely, does the Porsche. I say the Porsche, it's actually the Aston Martin, the V8 Vantage. There we go. But the Aston does get out of the way. A very similar colour scheme actually to one of the old blank pan GT Porsches, which just threw me off for a moment there. But the Aston is well on its way for its outlap, but Kelsey's now going to hit the fearsome Blanchimont. Just a little bit of dip in the mile an hour through there, the car washing over the tarmac, and then hard on the brakes into the final chicane at turn 19, first gear for the 296 GT3 car. And what does Kelsey do on this first lap? Well, currently it's first place. It's a 2 minute 19.812, but this has just been surpassed by Steve, who's gone a little bit quicker on a 2:19.6. Like I said before, this game likes to flick through the cameras at random for reasons unbeknownst to me, but there is Steve, the championship leader, going into this final race, the number 5 car. He is currently at the top of the leaderboard. He's on 207 points, is Steve. He's got a 10-point advantage over the Ferrari of Standard Below, otherwise known as Tom. He's on 197. We'll see if we can find where Tom is out on track. Standard Below is his PSN, and he is out on circuit, but rather frustratingly we can't get to him at all. We've cycled through all the cars. There he is in the Mustang, the number 13 driver, flicks it through Blanchimont nice and neat from that very striking livery in the green, red and black. Definitely stands out. Down through the gears into first, 40 mile an hour, nearly touching 47 midway through the corner. What's the first response from Standard Below? What's his time going to be? It's a 2:20.5 so far. Let's have a little return to the garage. There we are at the moment with the current time. So Standard Below's lap wasn't valid, but we've got Steve at the top, Kelty second, THG in third place. THG is Tom. There's 2 Toms in the top 3 of this championship, but Tom is on 192 points. He's still got a chance of winning the championship, does Tom, in the Porsche, but realistically he's going to have to hope that Steve has a few nightmares during tonight's race. Then we got Ferdl in 4th position, Big Jeff in 5th, Tony Manley in 6th, and then THG Mike in 7th position. And then we have Noblar. I'm going to say Noblar because I know that could be misconstrued. I know people would say that in a different phrase. But the Ferrari has just gone 7th, and that is THG up into P1. Provisional pole position. The Porsche on a roll with a 2:19.2. I saw some cars during practice doing 2:18s as we ride on board with JPH, but that is wide, and that is an invalidated lap. JPH hoping to try and get into the top 10 this evening. That's his target. THG briefly, Mr. Tom was in pole position. He isn't anymore. He's in 2nd position. See if we can scan through. It's back to Steve again, who is now in the 2:18. So a strong lap from Steve, but that's a huge crash at the top of Blanchimont, really pushing hard the Ferrari, and that is the black and orange machine into the wall. And that's the sort of thing that you've got to be careful of around Spa. Blanchimont is a very, very challenging circuit for anything, or a very challenging corner for any car that isn't a Formula 1 car. You know, it still bites back, and that's what happened to Steve there. So, not ideal for him, but he's provisionally pole, so he won't mind too much. There's Zout in the AMR V8 Vantage. He is currently in 6th position, so that outlap that he did was a little bit later than everybody else, but he's got himself in a good spot so far, nestled inside the top 6. Otak yet to come out on circuit as Whiting, 1989, in that really cracking McLaren 720S. It's a lovely livery that he's running there, the nice strikes of splashes of blue and orange down the side of the car. It's really nice, contrasts brilliantly with the black. But Whiting is on his way to setting his first lap of the session, and as I say that, I think he might have just invalidated it running wide there on the exit of Les Combes at turn 9, so not ideal. Motormouth yet to go out. Motormouth was telling me he's done a 3-hour endurance commentary before, so I'm only doing 2 hours, so I'm practically an amateur in his books. Smoky Devil looks like is on a lap, just clamps that curb though on the inside at turn 20. Lost a little bit of time, but it's put him in the top 10 at 220.9. Biker Wolf in the Honda NSX, the number 985. Biker Wolf currently in the top 10 in the drivers' standings at the moment is Boris. He's on 116 points. The previous race before that, he was actually in the top 5, but he had a bit of a nightmare at COTA, the Circuit of Americas, last time out. So he's dropped from 5th to 10th. So unfortunately for him, he's going to have to hope that he can strike back in this final round of the season. For those that are brand new, like I was saying before, ACC Race Nation, a great championship to be a part of. If you want to get involved, do have a look at the Discord and signing up. Certainly encourage you to do. It's a great community to be a part of. There's a good lot of camaraderie as Biker Wolf puts himself into P9 thus far. We've got less than half of the session remaining now, and the Honda gets right out of the way. There's Race Nation Boss. Wonder who he manages in this sense. But Race Nation, the number 69 in that pink and gold chrome livery, is going to go on to set their first lap of the session so far, or the first valid lap of the session so far. It was a 220.4 that last lap, but it was invalidated, so it won't count. Currently have Mr. Lager himself. I won't say the rest of his name because he'd want me to, but I'm not going to. But Lagerman has been very, very quick by all accounts and was fastest in practice earlier on in the session. He was really putting the hammer down. I would say we'd love to have a proper riding on board with Lager, but unfortunately the camera angles that we have been permitted in this session, for whatever reason, I can only ride from this perspective, that perspective, and from trackside. And whenever we catch a glimpse of the driver's eye, I will do my best. But Lager in 19th at the moment. He won't mind me calling him Stuart. He won't have an issue with that. But 4th in the driver's standings at the moment is Stuart. He's got an outside chance of getting into the podium, the top 3 places, but again it's relying on drivers not being able to finish in today's race for that to occur. Down through the gears is the Lamborghini, just slots the car in really nicely and then runs off the road, and did do a 218 flat on that lap. We'll have to find out why Stuart did abandon that lap, because he would be well faster than everybody else at the moment. Look at this dead heat though in the top left corner. Stevens out have set the exact same lap time. I mean, that is absolutely unbelievable, really. Wow. You know, it's a long track, this is Spa-Francorchamps. It's not exactly a minute and a half circuit that you can have. It's 4.352 miles, and those two are separated by nothing, absolutely nothing at all. 4 and a bit miles couldn't separate them. Whiting is 3rd. You've got THG in 4th, Standard Below in 5th place. So Standard Below is Tom 2nd in the Drivers' Championship. Got a couple of cars between himself and Steve. You need to try and close that gap down. Bit of a gap back to Kelty and Big Jeff, who were the last drivers within a second of pole position. Then you've got Ferdle, JPH. There was a change in the standard. Standard Below has just responded to my commentary then. He's now up to 3rd. So that's more like it from the Ford Mustang driver. You got Biker Wolf in the top 10. Tony Manley, Fast Monkey, Smoky Devil, Noblar, and then THD Mike are the only other drivers to have set a lap time so far. Let's go back into standards at the moment. We'll have a little look at what standard below is up to currently. He's out on circuit doing his absolute utmost to make a go of a championship challenge. Now, for those that don't know how the point system works here with ACC Race Nation, just to let you know that if you get a race victory, it is worth 31 points. If you finish second, you get 29 points. Third place gets 28. Fourth gets 27. And then for every position below that, you take 1 point off. So, for example, if you finish 10th, you get 21 points. If you finish 25th, you get 6 points. Obviously, there's 22 drivers in for this evening, or rather, I should say 21 drivers and myself. In fact, I will just clarify that so we've got it on the screen. Yeah, there you go. 21 drivers plus myself. So the lowest amount of points that anybody could score if everybody finishes this race would be 10. So you're looking at Steve 986 on 207 points. Tom in second, that's standard below. He's on 197, so he's 10 points back. So Tom would have to win the race and Steve would have to finish outside of the top 10 for standard below, aka Tom, to win this championship. So there's going to be fascinating to see how the drivers can respond to the pressure. It will be really interesting to see if anybody else can get involved at all. We are following standard below at the moment. There's JPH, he's up into 8th place, so he's got himself into the 219s. He'll be feeling more confident about that, will Jordan? He'll be happy with his pace so far. You got TVL in 6th position. TVL, that is Tom, another Tom, I should say, Tom Van Lock. He is third, the only other driver who's mathematically got a chance of winning the championship. He's on 192 points, so he's 15 points back. So for Tom to win the championship, he'd need to win the race, and then he'd need Steve to finish outside of the top 15. So that's going to be quite a challenge for that to happen, but you've got to be in it. You have to absolutely be in it to win it. Fast Monkey. Ooh, having a little bit of a moment there through turn 11. That looked a bit peculiar from the Porsche driver. Obviously, the Porsche 992, it's the latest revision of the updated Porsche model. But that seemed to have a little bit of a twitch through turn 11, so that might be something for the drivers. That'll wake them up. Oh, he's having a little slide, and he's gone on the grass, and that's going to be a spin. And into the infield section at Campus went the Porsche, turn 14. So he'll have to go again. He's got 2.5 minutes. He's got enough time to get out there and do potentially another lap. Not certain. I don't think he'll have enough time to do another lap. So he'll have to nail it on this final run. Calty is out there. He'll get another lap in, but this one looks as if it's invalidated at the moment. But up in 4th. So Calty has made some good progress through the session so far. Noblar's in the pits, as is Jamo. Jamo, just to make a point as well with Jamo, he's in the top 5 in the Drivers' Championship. He's 5th overall. He has had a race win this season in 2 podiums, but that happened right at the start of the campaign. He hasn't been on the podium since then, so he's had a challenge in 2nd, 3rd of the season, really, has Mr. James, but we'll see how he can respond in this final round of the season. Maybe he can get past Stu Packham. We'll find out. But Steve's on his final lap. Let's ride on board with him. I say ride on board. Let's follow him as he goes up, down the hill towards Eau Rouge. 5th gear in the Ferrari 296. Committed through there. No crashing into the barriers this time. Still on pole position on a 2:18.7. So this is looking good so far. He's practically matching the first sector as we cross that timing beam. He's right there. We've got a yellow flag, but it's gone now, so that driver's out of the way. He's got a Porsche of Tony getting right out of the way. Third gear as he exits turn number 9, and then on the approach to Bruxelles, turn 10, down through the gears, really hammering the brakes. You can hear them squealing into turn 10, but he gets it nice and tidy. He's a 10th and a half up at the moment. This is going well for Steve 986, the championship leader. Really strong drive so far, but he's got a nail poo on now. One of the most challenging corners on the circuit, and he's right on the limit of adhesion. A little snap through the corner, nicely corrected, but he was up by 2 tenths. He's lost about a 10th and a half, nearly all of that gap now. On the approach into Campus, turn 13, then through turn 14, nice use of the curb on the inside at Campus, but again that Ferrari wanting to step out on him into Stavelot, and that's nicely done through there. He's about a 10th up at the moment. The checkered flag is flying for qualifying. That is it. Everyone who's on their final laps now, this is it for them. And Steve will be one of those drivers. He's a touchdown, so it's all going to come down to the braking zone into the bus stop chicane. He's going to have to absolutely nail both apexes and the braking zone into turns 19 and 20. There he goes, down from 167 miles an hour. Right on to 42, down to 40. He's up so far. This is looking like a good amount of time gained from Steve. He's going to make a little inroad, and he goes just that little bit quicker. It's a 2:18.6. Big Jeff, though, strikes back in the Ferrari, and he's on provisional pole. Cracking effort right at the death of the session. Just trying to see if there's anyone else on circuit. Whiting is out there. Motormouth has invalidated their lap, so they're not going to go any quicker. Race Nation's just come across the line. He'll be in 7th. That's JPH across the line in 9th position. Just trying to see. Looks like everybody else is in the pit, so we're just waiting really on Whiting, who's 4 tenths up on his best lap, which is a 2:19.1. This will get him up a little bit higher. He's got to nail Stavolo. He's a bit wide, and that's cost him 2 tenths. Has that little mistake. Let's just have a look what the times are so far whilst we watch. Whiting is a couple of tenths up where he is. It could put him in the top 3. Obviously I've now come out of there, so we've got to just watch it from our perspective. Where will Whiting... On the brakes then, into the penultimate corner. We don't know what his lap time's going to be until he gets across that line. Where will the McLaren go? Puts him in 4th position. So that is qualifying for this 2-hour event. It's Big Jeff on pole position. Steve in 2nd place, the championship leader. Then it's Zout in 3rd. Whiting 4th, standard below. That's 2nd place in the Drivers' Championship. He's in 5th. Calty 6th, Race Nation is 7th. THG TVL, that's Tom, he's in 8th position. 3rd in the drivers' standings. Then it's JPH, the last driver in the top 9, who's within a second of pole position. He'll be very delighted with that, with Jordan in the Mustang. And then Tony Manley in 10th place. You've got Thirdle, Smoky Devil, Biker Wolf, Fast Monkey, Noblar, THG Mike, the other drivers to have set a valid lap time. Everybody else was unable to do that. Okay, let's return to garage and we shall wait and see what happens next for this 2-hour event here at Spa-Francorchamps. As the drivers are sorting themselves out, we will just have a quick breather. So here we go then. The drivers ready and waiting for this 2-hour event. All to play for in this championship. Session is due to start in less than 2 minutes time. I was saying to a couple of... I've been hearing what the drivers have been saying really about the race strategies, and you know, the drivers really will be looking at a one-stop, to be honest, in terms of potentially putting in some new tyres, definitely putting in some fuel. And it looks like there won't be too much deviation on strategy, but one element that we have noticed, of course, apologies about that. One noticed that we have noticed one element that we were... Hopefully you can hear me.
30 seconds.
You just had the 30-second time board, and I've just double checked, so we are all good. And yeah, it's rather brilliantly not doing things the way that we would have hoped, to be honest, in terms of flicking through the drivers. It is doing it at random, so we will persevere. We will persevere as best as we can. But we've got Big Jeff starting from pole position. And we'll wait for everything to get underway. There we go. So we will start off with the formation lap. It's really frustrating actually that we can't seem to just go through the drivers. Smoky Devil is in the pit lane at the moment. Got to find out what is going on there. That's Race Nation Boss lining up on the grid. Don Granato. Don Granato was a very quick driver during practice. I noticed that his times were up there. So watch out for the Lamborghini, the green and neon green highlights of his car. Was right up there in the practice session earlier on today. So maybe elected not to do qualifying. I know some drivers aren't qualifying this evening. Hopefully the Don will be able to put on a bit of a show, come through the field. There's Stu in 20th place. Standard below in P5 as we approach Laycombe. The drivers getting themselves lined up and making sure everything is in position. Getting the tyre temperatures up. We can't see that information. I mean, obviously that'd be a bit too much of a giveaway for drivers if they know what their rivals are doing. Someone could watch this stream and then they would be passing that information along to their team, to their friends really, who are racing in the stream. We can't see fuel loads, but we'll be expecting drivers to be making pit stops somewhere between the 45-minute, 40-minute mark, right the way through to an hour and 10 minutes. That's the standard we'd expect from today's strategies. There's Fast Monkey in the Porsche. You got Calty as well. Noblar. And there's Jamo. And there's the championship leader, Steve. Trying to stay as calm as possible. And then Big Jeff in prime position. For this race start. What I was trying to say before, my microphone from on occasion can sometimes cut off for reasons unbeknownst to me and the entirety of PlayStation, is that one thing that is going to be a factor in today's race is the pit lane time, because looking at where the pit lane is, for those who watch Formula 1 will be aware of how the pit lane is at Spa. You exit it between turn 19 and 20 at the bus stop chicane, and then you feed back out at La Source. But obviously in the GT3 cars, they don't feed out back at La Source. They feed out after Eau Rouge. So there's a huge amount of time lost in the pit lane. So when we get to that midpoint of the race, we are going to have to check in and see try and predict how long it's going to take drivers to make a pit stop. So pit entry is going to be really crucial to gain maybe a second or two, and it's very tight around here, is the pit lane entrance at Spa. The other element to make a note of as well with the pit lane is that to add to the intrigue of the pit lane limiter, is capped at 31 miles an hour, so the drivers are going to be what would feel like to them a forever and a month to get down this pit lane, and then firing straight back out between Eau Rouge and Radion. So that is going to be a fascinating one. But we are lining up now, ready for the start of this race, this 2-hour finale for the ACC Race Nation League. When will Big Jeff go? Steve went a little bit too early, to be honest. But he has the control. He decides when he wants to go, which he will be bracing himself for. I know some people will be thinking, hang on a minute, why is he not gone yet? The start-finish line is on the other side of the track. So we've got to go around La Source, which we're going into now, and then it will be on the rest of the crew in the field to react to that. They've all got to line up side by side anyway, but foot down could make the odd spot up as they approach Eau Rouge. Got to be careful. Don't want any accidents. Let's get the outboard cameras for this. We'll watch the cars go past. You can see the red lights just up ahead on the left-hand side, and now we are live for the race here at Spa-Francorchamps. Can Big Jeff hold his lead into turn one? They're side by side with Steve there. Whiting getting involved as well. On the approach is contacted. That's Big Jeff in the wall. Big Jeff is in the wall. It's Steve who leads the way. There was contact between himself. There's more carnage in the background. That's Fast Monkey. Biker Wolf is in the wall as well. There's a yellow flag all back there. Jamo, I'm just following. We can see Biker Wolf. The NAX has just not had a good time at all, which is such a shame. But we have some carnage. Jamo, I did think he got involved in that in the Ferrari. There's clear damage to the front of that 296. That is a big shame. But we currently have at the lead of the race, we have Steve up front. I think Big Jeff and Biker Wolf might have retired. We wait for the timings to update. Whiting putting the pressure on him in the McLaren already. Yeah, Biker Wolf is in the pit, so that is not accurate. Steve is leading the way at the moment. Then it's Whiting, then it's Zout, then it's Standard Below, who I'd love to click to straight away, but we can't do that. We've got to go through all the names of the world. We'll follow Race Nation Boss, who's just got a little bit of a gap to try and make up to Standard Below. There's 1.2 seconds there. He's got a group of cars behind him, including Calty. There's TVL, and that's JPH in that little mix. We also have a couple of other cars as well. Don Granato, I did say watch out for him. He's up to 15th already. Make that 14th as the game cycles through. Someone went very wide there on the exit of Corbeuf Paul Frere at turn 16. And Don Granato already looking to try and make some impression on Fast Monkey, but we'll see whether he can do that. There's Stewart in 15th, also just shadowing everybody, but Standard Below, that's Whiting who's gone wide. He's going to have to take to the escape road. He cuts right across. He didn't gain any time from that as Zout runs wide in the Aston Martin. So far, so good from this leading pack as we go around La Source for the first time at racing speed. But it is Steve who still leads the way. Then it's Whiting, then it's Zout, then it's Standing Below and Race Nation Boss in the top 5. There's JPH in 8th position. He's got a big gap back to Thirdle in 9th position. So it looks like there's a couple of drivers who've bolted into the pits. And Stewart has got past Don Granato in the meantime. But Kelt is in 6th position. Oh, that's wide from standard below. He's going to have to cut across the rumble strips. He's going to get overtaken by Race Nation Boss. And can the Ferrari go through as well? They're giving each other a nice amount of space on the circuit. But I think standard below is going to have that straight line speed that the Mustang has over the rest of the competition. And he remains in front for now. To those who are just tuning into the stream, I do apologise. I can't flick through driver by driver because the game for some reason will not do that, and which is really frustrating, to be honest with you. So we have to just do it at random. We'll go through it as best as we can and we'll try and adapt. But the top 3 are making a break for it. Steve, half a second clear, is out, who's just run wide. It's going to be a bit more than half a second now between Zout and the front 2. Looks like it's 1.7 seconds from Steve to Zout there. Whiting doing a really good job of shadowing the Ferrari at the moment. And Steve under a bit of pressure at the moment. There's Jamo. He's carried on with the damage. So, oh, that was so close to an accident. That was unbelievably tight. Jamo nearly getting involved with Noblar there. Could have been Ferrari on Ferrari action. Not ideal. In Belgium, as Noblar rejoins the circuit, he's going to get overtaken by Tony Manley and Smokey Devil as well, who started in the pit lane, interestingly. It's been a good start for him. Otak Vasic as well goes through. You got Motormouth in 19th position, who's a bit further back. He was involved in that lap 1 incident, was Motormouth. But the drivers, 2 laps down so far. Only another hour and 55 minutes remaining in our session tonight. Fast Monkey running a little bit deep there. He's going to be under pressure from the Mustang of Mike alongside him. It's not the Mustang, it's a Porsche. They had the blue, red and white livery there. Thought it was a Mustang, but they're going to be side by side through Eau Rouge. Fast Monkey goes wide. Let's cut to the external shot. They both went wide. And Don Granato says, thank you very much, friends. I'm going through. So that's the Lamborghini up into 12th place. But these two are still neck and neck. Michael get a little bit of slipstream from the Lamborghini in front of him, however. And that should be move made for the Porsche, the number 66. Just about hanging on. Fast Monkey trying to keep his car there, and fair play to him. He's still there through turn 9 and Lacombe. He's going to have the inside at turn 10 for Bruel. So on the brakes, Mike goes a little bit later. He's going to try and hold it all the way around the outside as they both watch the Audi in front of them. Mike, though, I think they're both giving each other a lot of respect here. Really good driving from both of these 992 Porsche drivers. Mike squeezing. He's going to have the corner this time at P1, and he does indeed. But he runs wide, and Fast Monkey is going to undercut them straight away. And that is Fast Monkey back in position. Great racing. That went on for a number of corners, all the way down from Eau Rouge, out of La Source, really, all the way to P1 at turn 12. That was fantastic. Great racing between those two. Meanwhile, a bit further up, we've got a few groups that are just starting to form. We've got Ferdel, we've got Stewart and Jamo and Calty, as well as Don Granato, who's in 11th place. These are a 5 together. You can see the 2 of Ferdel and Stewart just in front. They're not too far away. It's only a 1.3 seconds. Calty just showing the nose to Jamo there. But it was realistically never going to be an overtaking manoeuvre. As we go through the floor with Steve, who's got about a second on Whiting, but this is very early days. There's a long way to go in this race. Under the cloudy skies here in Spa-Francorchamps in the Ardennes Forest. Fascinating place in the world if you've never been before. But Steve leading the way at the moment. There's Big Jeff, who is still circulating. So he's gone into the pits and he's resumed. So Big Jeff has carried on. Ferdel under pressure from Stu Packham, the man in 4th for the championship, right on the back of his Italian marque rival. And what I mean by marque rival is Ferrari and Lamborghini have got a long, long history. And the Lamborghini will absolutely want to overtake him. Let's ride on board with Stuart if we can get to him. There we go. The number 78, fourth in the championship. He wants to have a good result. He's already come from the back of the field as Stuart. He's up to 8th. Can he make an impression on Thirdle, who in that Ferrari so far this season has been in and around the championship? But he does look like... Oh! And that's steering the wall! And that's going to be some damage. Calty goes through, but then Calty goes off the road. And Jamo gets in front of Stuart. I wonder if Calty's tyres are just going to be struggling a little bit there. Don Granato trying to find a way back through. Don's been sat at the back at this group since it formed. But that was a mistake from Stu. He was really pushing the car. And has to slide in behind Jamo through Blanchimont. I think he was just holding back on the throttle a little bit. I think that Lamborghini is going to be going right instead of left. No, I was incorrect. So Stu feeling that he can manage the damage. Let's see if he can. But he was pushing so hard on the back of Thirdle, but just made a mistake. And the number 334, he'll be sitting pretty in 7th place, and hopefully he can get up and off the road. For Thirdle, in any case, he's only really had 2 races this season. He had a 6th place earlier on in the championship, and that was way back at round 4. Didn't have the opportunity to do any other races outside of last time out in Circuit of the Americas. So his only appearance has been quite some time ago. So Thirdle will be very happy with this drive so far. So first time he's been in the championship since Watkins Glen at round 4. So Thirdle doing a good job at the moment. Standard below, running in the top 5. As it stands, the championship will be going to Steve. I think Standard will have been aware of the outside chance he had at taking the championship. But at the moment, we've still only been racing for 10 minutes. There's still an hour and 49 minutes, 0.22 on the clock. So still a long while remaining in this race. And also, just to make a note, JPH is not too far away. He's running on his own in 6th position. He's only about less than 2 seconds behind these two. I think the race will come to Jordan as it goes along, and there he is, in fact, in 6th position. There's TVL. That's Tom. So the 2 championship contenders who can take the championship away from Steve, who's running in the lead still. He's about half a second clear of Whiting at the moment. These 2 are running in 4th and 5th place. So let's see if they can do anything about their predicament at the moment. And that's TVL running a little bit wide. Standard is all over the back of him. We'll ride on board as best we can in the Mustang. And I wonder if the Porsche is going to be under a little bit of pressure here. 318 has just picked up a drive-through for track limits. So we'll cut to that in a moment. Standard below is all over the back of TVL. Can he get through on this main straight? I've got to say, the Porsche riding the curbs really, really nicely. I imagine, by the way, the drive-through penalty, I believe, was for Tony Manley in the V8 Vantage. But Standard isn't quite close enough to the back of the Porsche just yet. I thought he might have had an opportunity, but that didn't occur as he gets sideways on the exit there of Lake Com at turn 9. You've got to be very careful with the tyres in these early phases. You want to bring them in quite nicely. Don't want to overheat them. Standard will need to keep his nose clean a bit. THG Mike running in 13th position. He's running okay so far. Kind of just a little bit off the back of Fast Monkey at the moment, and he won't be running a little bit behind him. He'll be in front of Fast Monkey, who has found the barrier on the exit of turn 11 there. Tony Manley's just done his drive-through, so that's out of the way. Got to keep his nose clean for the rest of the race. Calty has now joined the back of Ferdle in the battle for 7th place. Ferdle running a little bit wide. And can Calty... Well, I was going to say he's not going to stick his nose up the inside at Paul Frere. That would have been very, very irresponsible. But because of that, he backed out of it. He kind of half committed and then had to back out. So he's lost time to his fellow Ferrari 296 driver. And that might be something for the stewards to have a look at in terms of track limits. You can get away with a few violations, but eventually you will have to serve a penalty. So Calty doesn't want to do any more of those. Certainly wouldn't be ideal for him. There's Noblar, there's Jamo at the back of that. So, well, I say at the back of that group, he's in a four-way fight, and I think he won't mind really just following everybody thus far. Speaking of Calty, the number 33 car has had a relatively decent season. Has Calty? He's had a couple of top 10 finishes. He had one at round 3, he finished 6th at Zolder, he was 8th at the Nordschleife. He missed the last race at Circuit of America, and I think he also missed Mazzano as well. But his last result came 2 weeks back at Monza, where he finished in 11th place. So he's running a little bit higher than what he did last time round, is Calty. And he's just got past Ferdle as well. A little bit further in front of us, you'll have just spotted the white Ferrari going in front. So can Calty show some more speed now in the number 33? 15 minutes in the race done so far. Still a long, long way to go as those clouds certainly start to get a little bit darker. In terms of the weather for today's event, just to have a little look through, we weren't expecting any rain today, so there shouldn't be any rain during the session, but it has been quite foggy, so maybe we'll see some atmospheric changes which can affect the behaviour of the cars. Of course, some cars do run a little bit better in cooler air as opposed to those who might prefer running in warmer climates. We've seen this in a multiple set of categories, not just in GT3s but also other lower class categories such as the GT4s, which the drivers do dabble in ACC Race Nation as well. Oh, that's Stuart almost running into the back of the Ferrari, who's been overtaken by Ferdle. So they're having a good scrap at the moment. Steve 1.2 clear of Whiting now, and Zoe has just put himself within striking distance of the McLaren. Oh, Big Jeff is round and he doesn't want to hit the wall, but he taps it. That is, and he's in the pits, and that might just be game over for Big Jeff. Ferdle though running in 7th position. He won't care about Big Jeff's plight. Sadly, the pole sitter just went wrong for him immediately at the start. Looks like he has retired from the session. Tony Manley currently running in 17th position. There's Zout. Now, I think Steve has just made a little mistake. He's lost about half a second because Whiting is right with him. And if we look from our perspective, Zout's not capitalised on it. So something has happened to Steve. When we cut away from him, he's running a little bit wide at P1 as well. There we are, on board with Whiting. Down through the gears. And Steve is just going to have to realign himself a little bit here. If he's made a mistake, he's going to have to take a couple of corners just to reset his focus, get back into the swing of things. You know, we're 20 minutes almost into the session so far. Doesn't want to make any major mistakes. Just has to keep his nose clean. That's the most important thing here. And the pressure that's being put on him from Whiting shouldn't be something that he needs to react to. At the moment, he's running perfectly on for the championship. It will be his. But Whiting is really pushing him for this opening stint of the race. And if we talk about Whiting at the moment, 1989, you know, we're looking at the number 19 car. You know, in that really nice livery. His name's Simon. That is Simon Whiting, who's currently we're following at the moment. Hasn't competed all the way through the season, Simon. So he's currently 14th in the drivers' standings. He's on 104 points at the moment. He has had a race victory at the 4th round of the season at Watkins Glen. And then in the previous 2 races at Monza and the Circuit Americas, he finished 3rd and 4th. So this is a driver who's no stranger to being at the sharp end of the field. He might be fancying a 2nd race victory of the season, which would equal Steve's as well. Steve's had 2 race victories so far in the championship. He won the first race all the way back at Donington Park on the 4th of September, and he won last time out of Kota. So can Whiting make it 2 victories? We shall see. But they're very close together at the moment. Smoky Devil in a bit of an ever-extending group, actually. Race Nation's in front of Ferdle now. And Calty is no longer in this fight. So what has happened to him? He was right up there, but Race Nation Boss is now in 7th place. We've got Don Granato, who's not with that group. Unfortunately, we do have to cycle through the drivers. There's Fast Monkey. So Ferdle, it seems to me that through this race so far, and he's open in 20 minutes, Ferdle has just been... Oh, and Ferdle's off at Puan. I was just about to say that Ferdle has been protecting his 8th place for the longest time, but the only thing that he can protect now at the moment is getting back on the circuit. Where is he? Can we cut to him quickly? The answer is no. How much damage has he done? On the front, he's definitely got a bit of damage. He looks quite slow compared to Noblar behind, which is Misha, who's running 9th in the championship. It's got damage at the back of the car as well. That is a shame. He was running really well, and Ferdle was in the thick of the action, and he had been defending brilliantly. Let's just wait and see. I didn't see the impact that the Ferrari made with the barriers at Puan. Runs a little bit wide through there. Seems to be up to speed again now. And will Ferdle just carry on? Yes, they do. So Ferdle carries on. Down in 12th place. He's going to have to work hard now to try and get onto the back of Don Granato, who's not a bad driver at all to follow in this situation. And see whether he can shadow the Lamborghini for a while and get that confidence back and not make any more mistakes. That's going to be the key now, moving forward. Tony Manley running in 14th position, despite the drive-through. Doing quite a good job in the V8 Vantage. I'd be quite pleased with that. Motormouth will be less than pleased in 15th position, to be fair, after being involved in that contact. But still a long way to go in this GT3 race. We've got Zout at the moment running in 2nd position. So whilst we've been away, sadly Whiting has had a bit of a wobble somewhere. And you can see that gap in the bottom left corner. You've seen 6.2 seconds for the McLaren driver. What happened? He was very close to Steve whilst we were watching the other fights. It's a lot of action going on all around the circuit, ladies and gentlemen. It's very difficult to keep hold of all of the information that I can. It's very hard to keep on top of all the battles where I can, especially with a screen, or rather not a screen, I should say, a driver selection process that doesn't work properly. So when I go from second, you'd go to third, and then it should go to fourth, but it goes to 15th, so not ideal. Smoky Devil in 11th, well, was in 11th place until the demise of the other driver earlier at Pouhon, but he's in the top 10 now, and despite a pit lane start, we're very pleased. Closing the gap immensely towards Blanchimont is the McLaren. Let's ride on board. He goes to the inside here at the bus stop chicane, but brakes a little bit, then goes back up the inside. How close do you want to be to the back of that Porsche? Little bit of contact, shouldn't be too much of an issue between the two, really. And they carry on as normal. Now, let me just return to the garage so we can see that's the situation we have at the moment. Those are your time gaps as Calty goes. I'm going to leave this screen on for a little bit. Hopefully that my sound has reignited. I do hope so, because I'm not a little bit having a few issues really. So I'm just going to leave this screen on just for a little bit for the time being. I know that we've got the track map right in the way of the action, but it's just a quick process to go through as THG Mike runs wide. Calty is wanting to unlap themselves, is clearly quicker at this point of the race, but sadly for Calty, they are a lap down, and these two are wanting to have a bit of a scrap, and that is Smokey trying to go around the outside at turn 11. Well, here we go. They're going to be on the approach then towards Pouhon. They're going to be together at the corner. Mike runs a little bit wide, and there's contact again between the two. They're still side by side out of Pouhon, and I think Smokey is going to hold that position, and they do indeed. So Smokey into 9th position then. Pit lane start, it looked like, for the McLaren. Now sees themselves into the top 10 quite comfortably for the number 43 McLaren. And the number 43 McLaren has had a very sort of topsy-turvy season, really, in that McLaren 720S. Basically has been involved in pretty much every round this season bar one. Best result last time out was at Kota in 12th place. The round before that was their overall best results of the season. That was 7th place. But also Smokey has had 2 other top 10 finishes this season. So not out of the realms of impossibility that Smokey could get another top 10 finish. They're on track for it at the moment. See if they can keep that up. Motormouth running in 14th position. A lap down. Has been lapped by the leading duo and Whiting, who is there. Tony Manley up to 13th now, following the demise of other drivers. He might be 44 seconds behind Noblar, because I'm not going to say it how other people would pronounce it, but I'm going to be on for some good points. Steve is still leading the way at the present moment in that Ferrari. We're coming up to halfway through the first hour of this race so far. His last lap, 6/10 off his best so far in the session. Fastest lap of the race is also with Steve, so he's got an extra point to go with his first place, but he's being shadowed very nicely by Zout in the Aston Martin. It will flick randomly through other cars before we can get back to where we need to be. And TVL and Standard Below are still together on circuit. JPH is still shadowing them at the moment. He's not too far away, is Jordan in the Mustang. That bright orange number 16 car. It's been doing all right so far, has Jordan. Joined in the championship late, but you know, had a 9th place finish on his debut in the season, and then an astonishing 2nd position at COTA last week, which Jordan was even said himself he was very surprised by. But he's running in 6th during this race at the moment, and I think he'll be very pleased. He's within touching distance of the top 4, so see what will happen later on in this race. There's standard below right there, Don Granato running in 9th position. I bet someone will say to me Don Granato. I guarantee that will typically happen. Race Nation Boss in the pits. Now, why has Race Nation Boss elected to pit? Can't see any work going on in the car. Didn't get a flashpoint about any track limit violations or anything along those lines. But Race Nation is in the pits at the moment. Would be very early for fuel, I'd have to be honest. So, see what happens with that. There's Smoky Devil once again in 8th position. You can see Fast Monkey just up the road. We've got a yellow flag briefly in front of us. And that was Motormouth who'd gone off the road. So, the McLaren just pulling off the track. And I wonder if they're about to pull into retirement. That could happen. Race Nation in the pits. There's another... Yeah. That's also Motormouth who's joined them in the pits. So I wonder what's gone on there. Standard below and TVL still the 2 closest drivers on circuit. Outside, of course, are race leaders. Fast Monkey's got Jamo behind him, but I think Jamo wants to unlap himself. I think that's what's going on there. Calty's still circulating in 16th place. Noblar as well in 11th position, and Jamo has overtaken Fast Monkey, so I wonder if Jamo just letting him go off up the road. There's our leading duo. A 220.6 from Steve on that lap and a 220.8 from Zout on that lap. 8/10 off his best time. Race Nation Boss has a 30-second stop-go penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So that is a disaster for the Audi. Going to be kicking himself with that mistake. Must have just blipped the limiter a little bit early. Accidentally probably clicked it over. So that's a 30-second time penalty for Race Nation Boss. But the driver's now starting to lose tyre performance. 220.6 is a second off Steve's best time. 220.8 is 1.2 off Zout's best time. So these two are demonstrating the tyre performance drop off now. We've done 13 laps so far in this race. But it's been an interesting race so far. It's been absolutely fascinating to watch. We still have a long, long way to go, of course. We've just got some information regarding Stuart Packham, because we had an issue before. After his mistake earlier, he's not been on track. Oh, Zout, that's wide. He's really pushing as much as possible to keep the pressure on Steve. But whilst I was just saying that, there's Whiting, by the way, in 3rd position. Motormouth in the pits. See if we can find any other fights on track. We'll keep TVL and standard below on screen for a little bit, give them some screen time. But Stuart was saying that he had to, unfortunately, retire. His wheel has gone back to double shifting. And also it seems that his traction control settings have been resetting to 0. So that isn't fortunate. It's very unfortunate. Oh, it's a drive-through penalty for TVL. I just saw him run wide then, and he's going to have to serve it. And I think he's doing that now. Just saw him run wide at Blanchimont. It'd be really good if we could get to him on this. There he is. And that's a drive-through penalty. He's going to lose so much time. He's already crossed the start-finish line. So let's just watch how long it takes for a drive-through penalty to be served in this race at Spa. Look at the speed, 31 miles an hour. An absolute lifetime for the Porsche driver to go down this pit lane. 23 seconds so far. We're just rounding the first corner. And we're still looking at everybody else is flying up to speed. And we still trundle down the pit lane. It's taken an absolute year off his life getting down this pit lane. We're still going down it, of course. We're now into the main pit lane for the GT cars. And you can see that red banner just up ahead. That's where, would you believe it, the pit lane limiter can be switched off. We're over 60 seconds now for this drive-through penalty. That's how long it has taken him. And he's going to hit the line. There we go. 66 seconds from the start-finish line on the main circuit to going off onto the pit limiter and then onto it. Wow, that's a lot of time. And TVL is going to have to hope and pray that there are some more penalties coming for other cars. That's Mike round. Someone else has gone off the road a little bit further down. I think that's Noblar, who's just in front of him, who's in the middle of the track. And there's another car off as well. Is that Don Granato? It is! Oh, that is such a shame. I think Mike's just getting up to speed. I'm just watching to see, is there any damage? Taking a little bit of time to get up to speed, but has got going. TVL's going to be happy. He's gained a few spots. Don Granato's in the pits from that accident. And I wonder if that's a game over. Race Nation boss, I think, is going to be serving his stop and go penalty. I will eventually be able to tell you all about why Stuart Packham retired. He said that he's having some issues with traction control. Go back to zero. That's Jamo round. A little bit of contact with Smokey. Don't know if he got pushed on his way round there. He's gone round and he won't be pleased about it in the slightest. But Stuart was saying that firmware updates seemed to fix his traction control issues last year, but it seems to have been reset, so that's not ideal. Obviously, for those who are watching and you're new to GT3 racing, the drivers can use traction control. You can see in the bottom right corner how much ABS and traction control, the setting that they run. Everyone runs different settings. It's perfectly legal to do so. You're allowed to do it. Jeff as well was saying he doesn't like rage quitting, but after massive hit at the first corner, which it was a huge impact, being 2 laps down after 2 hours isn't ideal, and that's true. It's a long way to go for them. So Big Jeff has also retired. Our pole sitter is out of the race. And Stuart seems quite angry about the fact that he's retired because of his wheel, not because of anything else. No one else has gone in his way, no one else has crashed into him. So he's very frustrated. That's a shame. He was running very well. He'd made his way through the field at that point. Don's still in the pit lane, but I think that's going to be that for them. The two THG drivers aren't far away from one another. Mike has been overtaken by TVL since TVL served his drive-through penalty. So it's going to be a long recovery drive for TVL. He's got a long way to go before he gets to the next driver in 7th place, which is Smokey. I think he's about 30 seconds up the road, so it's a long, long time to go. There's Fast Monkey in 6th position. Despite having a wobble earlier, he's done okay so far. He's had a good race. 40 minutes in to our 2-hour session. And he's lapping in the 2:21. So let's just have a comparison of that with the drivers in front of him. A 2:20.5 from Steve. As out on a 2:20.4. Should make a note that Whiting has closed the gap a little bit. It was up to 7 seconds, 7.2 at one point, so it has come down. But Whiting's done a 2:20.6 on that previous lap, which is in the same 1/10 of a second of Steve. Smokey's done a 2:22, so Fast Monkey definitely pulling away. But obviously the shenanigans that we had on that last lap, that's why Smokey was a little bit slower. Race Station Boss running in 15th position, 2 laps down on the race leader, but carrying on. I think Don Granato is done. Standard Below done a 2:21.4 on the last lap. And JPH done 2:21.3, so the Mustang's lapping at a similar pace, really. So Fast Monkey is on the same speed as the 2 Fords in front of him. Top 3 are driving in their own little planet at the moment, and their own sort of circumnavigation of orbit. So quite a long way still remaining in this race. Here at Spa-Francorchamps in the Ardennes Forest. Let's follow a little battle out on circuit. Let's follow Zout and Steve. They're together at the moment. But the Ardennes, a historical circuit, of course. Spa in itself is a very well known town, actually, not just because of the circuit, but a couple hundred years ago, it was back in the 18th century. Effectively, it was actually a health resort. Which is obviously where the name Spa comes from. If you live in the UK or you live in Europe anyway, spas are typically determined as being relaxation centres. That's where the word comes from. It's got a lot of mineral springs in the local area. And it's also one of the great spa towns of Europe, one of 11 UNESCO World Heritage Sites for that, which is really fascinating, to be honest with you. So if you are curious about going to a place, visiting Spa in the future, it's got a lot of heritage in the local area, not just at the racetrack, so you can go and have a little venture into town and chat with the locals. We also have a festival in the town as well called the Francofollies. If you've never heard of the Francofollies festival, it's got quite a lot of fascinating history to it. It's been around since the 80s pretty much. But it's a French-speaking music festival that has loads of different concerts that go on, and it happens in July every year. So if you're curious, you like your music, you like a bit of French music, then maybe you could go along to Spa next year and get involved in the Francofollies Festival. Enjoy some music. I'm sure the drivers won't be thinking too much about music right now. They'll be thinking about their plans and strategies. We are in the pit stop window now at this point, so we will see a few pit stops. Calty is one who's gone into the pits. If we can get to Calty, that'd be great. I'm just going to assume that their car is being serviced. But at this moment in time, let's have a quick scan through. Let's have a quick run through of the current driver order as we look at it. So we have Steve leading the way, then it's Zout in second position, Whiting in third. Now that gap's come down a little bit. That's 5.3 seconds to Zout, admittedly, I think he's made a mistake. 5.4, so 6.6 behind Steve. So he's made a little inroad on that last lap. Then it's Standard Below in 4th position. He's about 20 odd seconds behind the 3 cars in front. Let's watch his split as we come across the line. Well, 15.8 actually, I correct myself. He's 20 seconds behind Steve, but 15.8 behind Whiting. Then you've got JPH in 5th position. The number 16 out on track. Just 5 seconds shy of his other Ford Mustang driver. Fast Monkey then in 6th position in the Porsche 992. See what his time is as he crosses that first sector beam. 22 seconds back from JPH. Smoky Devil isn't far away. He's only less than 4 seconds behind in the McLaren in 7th. TVL recovering from that drive through penalty before. Just making his way now through Eau Rouge and then over the top of Radion. He's going to be some period of time behind for sure. We'll get an update on how far behind he is in a moment. Mike's had a relatively quiet race, but he's in the top 10. He'll be happy with that. TVL 30 seconds behind in 8th position. See if that time can come down. Then it's Mike, who's 8.2 seconds back. Tony Manley, the persistent driver of the day so far, absolutely flying in the top 10. He'll be delighted with that, will Tony. Then you've got Jamo, who is a long, long way away. He was involved in that lap 1 incident. He's in 11th place. Noblar is in 12th. Then you've got Calty in 13th. Race Nation Boss has carried on in 14th place. We've got Motormouth just coming out of the pits now, and he's... Well, I say he's coming out of the pits. What has gone on there? Would have been nice if we could have just gone straight to Motormouth, but he's stuck. Now, is there something going on? Yeah, he's trying to... It looks like something's... He's reversing backwards. He's got reverse gear. I wonder if he's having a technical issue. Can he get his car restarted? We're still going backwards. This is... I mean... This would be grounds for a disqualification, typically. In any form of real-world racing, you can't reverse in the pit lane. But Motormouth has found a way to do that. Is he trying to reverse back to his pit garage, I want? Yes, he is. So he's getting serviced. So, yeah, he's been disqualified. I was going to say, he can't reverse in the pit lane. So Motormouth is out. So we had 22 drivers start. We are down to 14. Race Nation Boss becomes the last driver to circulate on track. The number 69. Race Nation Boss obviously has been involved in the championship for quite a long time. Of course he has. But John, I've known John for quite a long time. He likes his racing. He's always been a big fan of his racing. He will continue to persist no matter how difficult it gets. But John had a couple of good results this season. He had a 5th place early on at the start of the season. I think he finished in 5th place at round 4, which was not too bad for him. And then a couple of retirements, not ideal for John. Missed the race. Then he was 7th last week at Circuit Americas. So definitely some pace for John, but he's just not had the season he would have wanted. And I think a few DNFs would have miffed him off a little bit. Got some information regarding Don Granato. Now, I thought something was a bit peculiar, but I am just going to see what has happened here. So we had a bit of an incident for earlier on, and then... Oh, that is peculiar. So what I'm watching, you can't see this at the moment, ladies and gentlemen, but Don Granato, we saw a few laps ago that there was 3 cars off the road at the exit of Les Combes at turn 9. And we saw Don Granato was just off at the side of the track, and I thought he'd been involved in an incident. But what had happened was that his brakes have got stuck. So he comes out of the turn 9, the Porsche goes off in front of him, which, if my mind is saying, it was Mike who was in front of him when he had that wobble through the corner and then spun. Don slams the brakes on, and then his brakes are stuck on. That's it. That is a shame. Big shame. We've lost another driver for a technical issue. But that is how the cookie crumbles sometimes. So it's becoming a race of attrition, is this? And there's going to be some moves in the Drivers' Championships. Absolutely certain of that. Let's go back to our front two. That's a lot closer, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? Zout and Steve running nose to tail. They've been very close together through most of this race, to be honest. But 50 minutes into the session so far, and we can see that V8 Vantage has not left the rear diffuser of that 296 Ferrari. It has been there the whole time. They've both been making little mistakes, I've noticed, on circuit. And what it's doing is bringing Whiting back into play. He's only 4.3 seconds behind. He was 6/10 quicker than these two on the previous lap. He is absolutely on it, is the McLaren. I said before he'd won a race earlier this season. He wants a second one. Do not rule him out of it. There's still a long way to go. We've still got pit stops to come. But Mr. Whiting in the McLaren will be wanting that victory. He'll be absolutely going for it. As will the other two drivers, of course. Zout will definitely be going for it. As will Steve. Steve has had 2 wins this season. In Zout's perspective, if I just have a quick run through of my information that I have here, is making his debut in the series. So he will want to make his debut in this race with a win. He's been absolutely brilliant so far, Zout. The Dutchman is putting on a good show for his fans. And obviously, the Netherlands, obviously not that far away from Belgium at all. So his fans who are watching won't have made a big trip to get to here. Although Zout did have a big slide through poo on then. He's got to be careful of that. Those tyres will be looking distinctly second hand at this point. And Whiting will be closing that gap that he can see them, and that's a big motivator for Whiting. He's up on his time as well. He was. It's still very, very close. But he is really pushing. Oh, you can tell how hard he's pushing. He went right off the road, did Whiting. He got away with that. But you can see how hard he's trying to get up to the back of everybody at the moment. Just looking to see what Motormouth is going to say. Yeah, there we go. Motormouth saying that he is also having... He has said that he was having some cable issues. Couldn't get into 6th gear on the straight. And that's Smoky Devil and Fast Monkey. Some on-track action for position. We will come back to Motormouth in a moment. Well, Fast Monkey wants to make a go to get into the top 6. I mean, he was running in the top 6 before, so I wonder if Smokey's just caught up to the back of him. They were only separated by about 3 or 4 seconds about 15-20 minutes ago. Smokey's clearly got past in the McLaren in the number 43, so Fast Monkey wants to get his top 6 place back. See if he can do it. Just to carry on what I was saying, Motormouth was saying he couldn't get into the 6th gear on the main straight. He could only do 140 mile an hour. Then he replugged it back in, so he unplugged his throttle cable, plugged it back in, could get back into 160 miles an hour. Then he went into the pits as his rear tyres weren't getting, I'm going to say, to temperature. It looks like that's what that says. And then that's the rest of the statement. So I have to find out why he reversed in the pit lane. Maybe something was Maybe that was part of his tyre warming strategy. Who knows? But Fast Monkey in a nice battle here. He's been part of the whole season pretty much, has Fast Monkey. He's been in this championship from round one. He's had a podium finish as Mr. Monkey. He finished second earlier on in the championship. That was back at Barcelona. So certainly capable of a decent result. He's had a couple of other top 10 finishes at round one, and he had a fifth at round two. Last couple of races haven't worked out quite as well since the podium. He retired last week, and then he finished 13th at Monza. So back where he wants to be in 7th position. He'll obviously want to be back on the podium again, but he's going to have to make up 27 seconds really on JPH, who's in the top 5, and then he's going to make more time after that. Jamo is right there. The number 98, that's James. He's had a race win this season. He's had 2 podiums as well. He's 4th in the driver's standings, and he's going to finish 4th in the driver's standings. Will James, if he finishes where he is at the moment. Motormouth has now been disqualified from the session. So that'll be another driver out, officially speaking. Noblar just circling. So hopefully we get our on-track action. Just following Noblar at the moment. Misha, 9th in the driver's standings, is definitely going to be making some spots up, because the driver in 7th place, Mike, isn't here this evening, and I don't think Linus is either. So could be on for 7th, maybe even 6th in the driver's standings, depending on where the number 43 of Smoky Devil finishes. But Smoky is in front of Misha at the moment. So at the moment, Smoky is going to be finishing in 6th place in the driver's standings. But again, still got a very, very long way to go. Now, what has happened here? Zout is in the lead of the race, and he's 2 seconds clear of Steve. Our championship leader on the last lap has had a mistake somewhere, because his last lap was a 2:21 or 2:22.1, and Zout's was a 2:20.3. So a big mistake from the Ferrari. Has those tyres seen better days? And I think that's Whiting in the pits. I think he's just... yeah, there we go. So he's in the pit lane now. I did say pit stops would start to happen. And we're at the 57-minute mark. We're almost at half race distance. Just watching. Reason why I'm watching at the moment is because I want to see how far behind Whiting is when he comes out of the pit lane. We'll have a look in a moment. Smokey's back in front of Fast Monkey. We didn't see it, but he is in front. He's got another car behind him at the moment, which is Jamo, who we talked about before. Standard below moves into 3rd position. Has been a very lonely race for that Ford Mustang since THG made a mistake earlier. They were running neck and neck, but since that drive-through, he has been on his own. Slightly gapping Jordan, who's in 4th. There is THG TVL, who was battling earlier with the Mustangs. Mike in 11th position. Fast Monkey in 7th. We're just going to go back and see where Whiting is. He's still in the pits. So getting his fuel ready, getting the tyres sorted and corrected. This has been a long, long stop. Just shows you how long not only the pit lane is, around here, but then you have to factor in the amount of time that you lose. But he's underway. He's back on track. Has to still follow that speed limiter. And let's see where we are. There we go. Off we go. So Whiting builds up through the gears. Just got to make sure he gets this right. He doesn't want to go over the white line. He gets away with that. And a little bit of a almost cut for Whiting, but he's underway for the second half of his race now. And the McLaren in 8th position is the first of the leading trio to make a pit stop. I just want to have a look at the time gaps. He is, well, as it stands, 13 seconds behind TVL. So I'm going to have to do some calculations on the fly. See if we can get that back to there. So Zout has crossed the line. Standard below is then 21 seconds further back, so we're 23 seconds behind at that point. Then Jordan will cross the line. That becomes 32 seconds. Then Smoky Devil, we've got a long way to go actually for Smoky Devil, Fast Monkey, TVL, and then Whiting to come through. So that's a long, long way. But we were at 32 seconds at that point of the lap. No one else is in the pits bar Calty, but that's for a drive-through. So 58 seconds. Then it's 59 seconds. I am rounding up and down a little bit here at the moment. Then THG TVL. And then eventually we will get to Whiting and we'll be able to tell you what that gap is to the drivers up front. It's a shame we can't view this in another way. So 59 plus 22. You're looking at 81 seconds. So that's a minute and 21. And then we can now see where about Whiting is in relation to everyone at the front. He's a minute and a half back. 1 minute 35 seconds behind after that pit stop. So what can Whiting do from here? Someone has just cleared a drive-through. I think that's Calty who's just done it. He was in the pits just previously. Smokey, Fast Monkey and Jamo still together on circuit. These are the closest two right now on track. Just to have a quick check actually to see where Steve is. Yeah, he's 3.6 seconds behind Zout now. So, and he's going into the pits. This is crucial then. So Steve, I think, had another little wobble on that lap. Has now decided it's time to bolt into the pits. And I will cut to Whiting in a moment to see how close he's going to be. I mean, we're still at this point of the circuit. We've got a long, long way to go. No point looking at it just yet. Smokey, Fast Monkey, Jamo still together on circuit. We've crossed the hour point now of the race. We're halfway through. Race Nation still circulating in 14th position. 23 laps done. 2 laps down is the Audi, but carrying on. Standard below moves up into 2nd position as a result of the first 2 pit stops, or the 2 drivers in front of him with their pit stops. Jordan is also in the pits, so that's his time to come in now. And Steve, don't forget, is already in the pit. I'm watching where Whiting is at the moment. He's just approaching Blanchimont. So Steve is now in the pit lane, finally. And we wait to see how long this is going to take him to get out of the pit lane. I want to cut to where Whiting is. There he is. We'll ride on board of the McLaren. As he comes out of the final corner, we can still see that Steve is in the pit lane at the moment. He's just done a 2:20 flat as Whiting, so that's right on his best lap pace. He's 3/10 slower, but he'll be getting those tyres in the operating window. Where is Steve? It's so frustrating that we can't just skip straight to him. There he is. He's now up to speed, is Steve. He's trying to get through the hill. There's Whiting coming up the hill in the McLaren. I think Whiting's going to get in front of the Ferrari, and he is indeed. And the Ferrari overtakes Steve thanks to that earlier pit stop. He's got those tyres up to temperature. He's right up to speed. And Whiting will have a big smile on his face because he knows he's on the hunt, potentially, for undercutting our race leader as well. Don't forget, Steve, when he pitted, was 3.2 seconds down on our race leader at the moment. Whiting is now 2.7 clear of the Ferrari. Zout carries on for another lap. So Zout electing to go for as long as he possibly can and might try and use his tyres later on. He's got JPH in front of him, but don't forget JPH has just made a pit stop. So whilst Zout might lap him, although he is on second-hand tyres at this point, still lapping very quickly in the Aston Martin, admittedly. A 220.3 on that last lap. That's brilliant driving. He's got to be conscious of the fact he can't afford to lose any time to Whiting at the moment. Jordan getting the blue flags. He'll probably get out of the way here. There he goes to the left. He puts his indicator on just so that Zout knows. And he goes on through. So Zout still circulating in the lead. Smoky Devil now makes his pit stop of the evening. He did get as high as third position. I think Standard Below is also in the pits by the looks of it. Yeah, there he is. He's now getting some fuel and some new tyres. He's definitely going to be surprised if Standard Below came out anywhere near Whiting. In fact, that would be a massive shock just because of where Whiting is on track. But Steve has got a bit of work to do. He's not under any pressure or any danger for the championship victory. He'd just like to win the race. But Whiting absolutely flat through Eau Rouge and Blanchimont. That was impressive. Building up to 161, 62, 63 miles an hour as he gets on the brakes into Les Combes. Motormouth still is disqualified, but it's just sat in the pits at the moment. But we do have 14 cars on circuit. Those are the only ones that are left. We've had 8 DNFs so far. Smokey just getting serviced for his pit stop. Standard Below has re-emerged in 4th position, back where he was before. 25 seconds off the podium, and he's going to need a mistake from Steve, realistically, to have any form of getting into the championship fight. Realistically, it was always going to be challenging anyway. But for Standard Below, he's going to have to hope for an accident, I think. Which we don't want to encourage, because that would be jeopardy. There's Jordan in 5th. He's made his pit stop. TVL in 9th. He's also made his pit stop now. Mike will have done as well at this point. Zout is in the pits. Okay. So, Zout in the pits at the moment. Let's just go back to here just so we can see. He's being serviced and Whiting is coming through Blanchimont now. It's going to be very, very tight between our race leader who is in the pits and Whiting in 2nd place. Steve in 3rd. It's dropping back a little bit, but I don't think he'd complain about having a podium to celebrate his championship title. Let's get back on track. There's Steve. There's Zout, who's now just got his car into gear. Whiting is coming out of turn 1. Zout is still not going. Whiting is going to take the lead. I'm not sure what's happened. Now Zout goes, but he's going to lose the lead big time. Whiting is in the lead of this race, and Steve is going to move into 2nd. And they're going to be comfortably clear. Zout is still going up through the gears. Let's just have a look at the gap between Whiting in first place to Steve. It's 3.9 seconds. And then if I can get there quick enough, that'd be great. To Zout, he's 15 seconds behind. Now that looked like a slow pit stop to me. I don't think there was anything wrong with his lap times. Lap times looked perfectly fine to me. So I think this pit stop, did he have any damage? I'm not certain, but regardless, the race leader before the pit stops is no longer. He is in third position, less than 10 seconds behind Calty, but then he's 11.7 behind the Ferrari of Steve, our current championship leader. Motormouth has put some comments into the chat area. I just want to see what has gone on here. So I'm watching a perspective that you again unfortunately cannot see. Motormouth's pedals as he comes into the pit. Oh. That would explain why Motormouth retired from the session. He has no brakes, no throttle whatsoever as he came into the pit lane. That was game over. So that provides a little bit more context for that retirement, which is a great shame because he was doing all right with Motormouth. I know he had his incident on lap 1. But he was still circulating and would have no doubt gone on to get a decent result. Even if he would have been a lap or two down, he still would have been perfectly poised to gain some big points in the championship. But alas, that hasn't happened. And he'll just have to dust himself down and his pedals, get them fixed, be back ready for next season. Because as it says on the stream, it is the final round of the season here at ACC Race Nation. If you are curious about getting involved, do pop along and check in with the Discord. A really nice community for you all to be a part of if you want to get involved. A good natured team full of positive admin as well. Good admin team that you can get involved with as well. They're very welcoming about information that you need to know, and they will announce a little bit more about the next season's plans in the coming weeks is what they're saying. And we will wait to see what the next season will look like on Assetto Corsa. Now we're just following at the moment. I've gone back to Tony Manley, who has driven quite a lonely race in the Aston Martin. But I mentioned him before because Tony, the Italian driver in the AMR V8 Vantage, has had a couple of races. He's done a couple of races this season in that car. He's had a couple of top 10s. He's had a 10th place at round 4 in the championship, which was before the season break. That was at Watkins Glen. Then he had an 8th position at Misano, his home circuit, of course. He didn't, sadly, make the start for his other home race at Monza, but he finished 11th last time out at the Circuit of Americas. So, Tony, no stranger to finishing in the top 10. Looks like he's on course for that. Mike's not too far away in 11th position, so let's not rule out THG Mike for a top 10 just yet. The number 66 in the Porsche 992. Still a long way to go for THG Mike. He could still catch up. There's 47 minutes remaining. We've only got 3/4 of an hour, the best part of it remaining. This has been a nice solid race from Tony. A 2:21.6 on the last lap as well is not too bad. His best lap is a 2:20.5, so really has come on quite strong. Has Tony. I mean, his best lap is only less than a second away from Zout, so credit where it's due to Tony. The speed is there. Had a little bit of bad luck earlier in the race, but top 10 finish, I don't think he'd be too disappointed with that. Whiting still leads the way. He's 5.1 seconds clear of Steve. That gap is extending. But don't forget, he did pit first out of the leading 3 drivers. His tyres towards the end of the race may fall away from him yet, so don't rule out a late race challenge from anybody in terms of Steve, or maybe even Zout, who pitted a lot later, but 16 seconds is a lot of time to make up. Smoky Devil still circulating in 8th position, 10 seconds back from the recovering TVL, whose next target will be Fast Monkey, who's 17 seconds up the road. Race Nation still circulating. Standard below. Last lap a 2:20 flat, pretty much. Less than a tenth off his best race time so far. That one was a 2:20.3. JPH, not as fast as his fellow Mustang driver this evening, but again, JPH just kept his nose out of trouble. He was out of the conflict early on and is running in the top 5 and is nestled in quite nicely. He's 23 seconds ahead of Fast Monkey. He just has to bring it home, really. 2:20.5, a new best lap of the race from Jordan. He'll be pleased with that. It's only a tenth off what TVL is doing in 7th place, so he's in the right field park. THG Mike in 11th place at the moment, and a 2:22. Fast Monkey on a 2:21, so Jordan half a second quicker than the Porsche on the last lap, so Jordan just needs to really bring it home. Calty still circulating. He's a lap down, a lap and a half down at the moment, but just 1 lap officially down on the race leader. He was doing so well earlier, was Calty as well, but that incident, unfortunately, just ruled him out of contention. It's got a long way to go, but Noblar is in the pit, so Calty, I know, has already pitted. That's a very long way to go for Noblar to be making a pit stop, so credit where it's due. They're going to have a very light splash and dash and go, but I think Calty will be moving up into 12th position, and he's 14 seconds behind THG Mike, so 45 minutes, 14 seconds, 13 seconds, could be doable. 2:22.4 from Mike on that last lap. Noblar still in the pits and only just getting to their service box now. 2:22.4, so not too bad in terms of lap time, but Calty would want to bring in a little bit more. He needs about a second a lap really to try and catch up to the back of THG Mike. There is Noblar, in fact, going down the pit lane, but will drop to 13th. Jamo in the top 10. Had that incident earlier on, don't forget, was missing most of the front end of his car. Has recovered to 9th. 15 seconds behind Smoky Devil. 2:19.8 on that last lap, although I think he invalidated it, so it's not an official lap time. We compare 2:19.8 to a 2:21.3, so that's a big gain in time for Jamo. See if he can make any inroads. Race Nation is no longer last, ladies and gentlemen. John is up to 13th. It is Noblar who is in 14th. So Noblar currently occupying that last position. .219.8 from TVL on that last lap. Just going to try and compare that to Smokey in 6th place. 2 seconds quicker. I'll give TVL a bit of encouragement. If he can go 2 seconds a lap quicker. Maybe a mistake from the Porsche on that last lap, because he is 8 tenths off his best lap. So not what you would expect from the Porsche driver. But Fast Monkey just laps Noblar as he goes on through. It's got 23 seconds to Jordan further up the road, 15 to TVL. Try and keep an eye on that as we run through. Let's go back to our race leader if we can. There he is, Whiting. At the moment in a planet of his own. Since he got that race lead, he has really been in a league of his own. He's 7 seconds clear of Steve now. I have to say, I think Steve, knowing that the championship is the most important thing at this point, I don't think Steve will mind too much about not winning this race. He'd want to, of course he would, but I don't think he will mind as much that the race victory is going away from him. But we've seen so far in this race that mistakes can happen. And whilst Whiting is leading the way, still 40 minutes remaining in this session. It's been a fascinating race so far. Really lot of action going on earlier on in the race proceedings. There was multiple overtakes and loads of incidents, drivers spinning off the road. Spa showing its fans what it's all about, and really bearing a lot of issues for some of these drivers. But Whiting has conquered all of those so far, as John goes into the pits to do his mandatory pit stop. It will go and do that now. As standard below, running in 4th position. JPH in 5th, TVL in 7th. That gap to Fast Monkey is coming down. I think he took another second out of Fast Monkey just then. Let's have a look. Yes, he did. Right, he took half a second actually. But that's still a not inconsiderate amount of time. But a really great circuit is Spa. For those that are wondering a little bit more about the track itself here at Spa, this wonderful track. It's been open for a very long time as Spa. It's been under multiple circuit iterations from when it was first opened. So Spa-Francorchamps, obviously, in Stavelot, for those that are unaware of the proximity of it, opened about 103 years ago, so 1921. Was in a completely different layout to what it is nowadays. The original circuit was its longest, so it was about 5 miles longer than what the track currently is. So bear in mind that the current track's 4.3 miles. The original was 9.3. So that's quite a massive shift. A lot more flat out back then, though, of course. They had the Master Kink. Was one of the corners that was involved. It was a devastatingly fast corner where you would go right, left at the Master House. And then all the way down into Hollowell. Stavelot was still a corner back then, but it wasn't the type of corner that you see now. It was a much more sharper and progressive right-hander. Blanchimont still existed, still the same fast corner that it is nowadays, and La Source still existed. So on the original track, over 100 years ago, there's still a couple of corners that exist on that track. So that was in the pre-war days, just before World War II. And then it changed again after that. It changed pretty much from 1939 onwards. It changed at that point. It became a little bit more compact right up until 1978, and then it got cut down again for 2 years, and then it got cut down again for Formula One usage in 1981, where it became practically the same type of circuit that we're at now, just that the bus stop chicane and La Source was a little bit different. It's pretty much been the same type of circuit ever since. It hasn't really changed too much from there. And, GT racing has been all the better for it. GT racing has been coming here for a long, long time. It's been a fabulous circuit. Also been part of the World Endurance Championship as well. It still is, naturally. Has had, of course, a number of difficult moments throughout its lifetime as a circuit. It has been quite a fatal circuit back in the olden days, before its big changes in the 1980s. Was sadly a lot of fatalities. It's been a lot better since then, but in recent years there have been incidents. Of course, you remember Antoine Hubert, who passed away, and other incidents that have happened since then. It's still a circuit that's very, very dangerous, and it has to. It still has to be a circuit that is respected. And the drivers are fully aware of the challenges that they have when they're out on circuit, when they're racing in real time. And we saw it in today's race, where accidents can happen at the start, and a bunched up start like it was. So this circuit has got its reputation for a reason. We're following Zout at the moment, who is closing the gap to Steve. We might have a fight on for second place here. We shall see. Give you some other facts about Spa, just so you're aware, whilst we're here. Eau Rouge, for those that don't know, it comes from, the name where that comes from is by a little river, is what it's there for. It was so that it was a little lake, it became a river, expanded over time, so Eau Rouge took that name. The other element of it as well is that the bus stop chicane was named the bus stop chicane because a bus stop used to exist there on the old road circuit. It was legitimately a bus stop, so people could get a bus to wherever they needed to go. So that's where that name comes from. And the other element as well is that obviously with Spa-Francorchamps it's a Grade 1 FIA standard circuit, but no Belgian driver has ever won a Formula 1 race here in all of the years it's been hosting Grand Prix. If we look at GT racing at Belgium, over the last few years, earlier this year it was Aston Martin who won. In the 24 hours of Spa, it was Nicky Thim, Marco Sorensen, Mattia Drudi. Those were the three drivers who won the 24 hours of Spa here in this very Aston Martin. Not exactly the situation you'd be expecting, but it was in that car that Zout is driving. So he's in the right car. Is it? Whether he'll take a victory is going to be another matter, though, to be honest with you. But so far, Zout has had a good race. I think the pit stop has put him a little bit further back than where he realistically should be. He should be fighting for somewhere between Whiting and Steve, I think, realistically. That's where he should be. 20.3 from Whiting on that last lap, 20.000 from Zout. So he was 3/10 quicker as we move towards the final half an hour of this race. Steve was 6/10 off Whiting's pace, but 3/10 off Zout. So at that speed, he is comfortable for second. Tony Manley, he's had a bit of a wobble on this lap. He's done a 2:23, so it's a bit slower. He's about to be lapped in the Aston Martin, but still, nevertheless, this has been a good showing from Tony, despite the issues earlier on. Let's see who else. Smoky Devil still running in 8th place. He's 19 seconds behind TVL, who I did say before was making inroads on Fast Monkey. He's only 10 seconds behind now. So when we cut back 10 minutes ago, he was 15 seconds back. So in 10 minutes, he's pulled 5 seconds on Fast Monkey. In theory, in 20 minutes' time, he'll be all over the Porsche's rear spoiler. TVL could still recover to 6th position. So watch this space. We could still have some massive on-track action yet. As I was saying earlier, in terms of the previous winners of the 24 hours of Spa, which of course is for GT3 drivers. So in the official category standard. So what I was saying before about, let me just cut back to his car with Zout. If we just have a look at that car that we've got there, the number 101. You know, we did have that car win earlier this year. Interestingly enough, a fun fact about the victory for the team was that it's the first time a Belgian team has won at Spa since 2015. And I think back in 2015 it would have been, I think it would have been the Mark VDS team that would have won back in 2015. And I believe they'd have been driving a Z4, BMW Z4, which is a wonderful GT3 car. I know a lot of people love that car. It has a lot of longevity to it. It's even in Assetto Corsa Competizione, you can still drive the car. So it's got a clear special love from its fans. But it was interesting that the Belgian team, Come To You Racing, they were the ones that won this year. It was also the first win for Aston Martin since 1948 at the 24 Hours of Spa, which is absolutely incredible. And I think back in, if my memory serves me correctly, back in the 40s, it would have been the Aston Martin 2 litre that would have won that race, or would have been around at that time, because the post-war racing for the 24 hours category was a little bit all over the place at the time. But I think the 2 litre Aston Martin would have been the car that won it at that point. If I go back through previous years of the 24 hour of Spa, I just have a quick scan through the last number of years. BMW won in 2023 in the M4. The year before that, we had the Mercedes-AMG GT3 win at 24 hours. Before that, it was the Ferrari 488. And then before that, it was the Porsche 911 of Earl Bamber, Nick Tandy and Lawrence Vanfor. They won in the Porsche 911 with Rowe Racing. I'm just thinking about the Ferrari victory in 2021. if my memory serves me correctly, the 2004 victory was won by Ferrari in it was the FIA GT Championship back then. And I'm fairly certain Lillian Briner was the first woman ever to win the 24 Hours of Spa. I think, if my memory serves me correctly, someone can go and check out on that if they wish to do so. But I'm fairly certain that 2004 was the first female driver, Lillian. I'm fairly certain she was the one. Lillian Briner, yeah, I'm fairly certain she was. I'll have to fact check that. But I think she was the first woman to win Spa, and I think it was in a Ferrari. I want to say it was a 550 GTS. I'll have to find out. Whiting, though, still leads the way. He's at the front with 26 minutes and 27 seconds to go. He has got the lead. He is a couple of seconds clear of Steve, our championship leader, and barring any incidents, he is going to take his championship crown. He currently is 7.5 seconds away from the race lead, but Zout is on his way. Don't forget, he stopped earlier than everybody. Or rather, we stopped later than everybody in his Aston Martin. We had a bit of a problem with the pit stop, but he is closing that gap right down on Steve. It's now 3 seconds to the good. And Steve, will he fight this? That's going to be the key question. He's got the championship. It's in the bag as it stands. He doesn't need to fight anybody. But pride, will that take over? Who knows? But Zout running in third position. He'll be pleased with his comeback so far. He's still lapping quicker than Whiting at the moment as well, who still leads this race. Let me just check. Yeah, he's half a second quicker than Whiting on that last lap. So really impressive speed shown from Zout. Then in fourth position, once we get through the drivers, there we go. Standard below. He's driven a very lonely race. He's 18.5 seconds behind Zout, but on for fourth place in the race and second in the drivers' standings. There's Jordan in fifth position in the Mustang. He's had a nice clean race. I think he'll be pleased with the display he's put on so far. Sixth place is Fast Monkey, but he is being rapidly closed down by THG TVL. He's 6.5 seconds clear, and TVL 1.3 seconds faster than Fast Monkey. This is going to be a fight coming to you soon in the next few laps. They're definitely going to be on scrap, having a big fight there. Eighth place, Smoky Devil. He's only got 2.5 seconds to Jamo, who has also put in a good recovery drive, despite his incidents earlier in the Ferrari. 2 seconds now, Jamo. We've got a battle on our hands coming up here. That's come down significantly. I think Smokey's made a mistake. I think Smokey has made a mistake, because that is now 1.4. Tony is in 10th position, circulating a good number of seconds behind Jamo. I think he's about 34 seconds back. Then it's THG Mike in 11th position. Once we get to him, let's see him. He's 16.5 seconds in front of Calty, who is running in 12th position. Then it's Noblar in 13th place, who's half a lap behind. And then it will be Race Nation boss, aka John, in 14th position, who is circulating as best as he can in that Audi R8. Let's have a look at these gaps though. See if we can return to garage. So there's Steve, 7 seconds back. Zout 1.8. We've got a race on our hands for second place. This is going to come to you very, very quickly. THG TVL, he is 5 seconds behind Fast Monkey. And what's happened to Smoky Devil? What's happened to Smoky Devil? Jamo's in the pits. So something peculiar has gone. I think Smokey's back up to speed. Let me just get on board with the McLaren driver. He's up to speed. But he was running very, very slowly then. What happened to Smokey? That is a bizarre... I don't quite know what went on there. Doesn't seem to be any problems now. He was just looked like he was running off the road, but he's back underway. Everyone else currently circulating. Jamo in the pits, so he's going to drop out of the top 10. I'm trying to get to Jamo actually. And he's going in now. He's in the pits. Didn't look like he had any damage. Oh, I can now select my cameras. Lovely. That's exactly what I've been waiting for the whole race. So, I now have my cameras. I can finally flick through them, which is absolutely amazing. I've been waiting for that all race. I know some people might be wondering, hang on a minute, Jack, why couldn't you just press camera select? The game was crashing on me before. For those that didn't tune in earlier. I can't hide the UI at any point, because if I press square, it was crashing the game earlier. If I did camera select, it would do it for a bit, but then it would crash. So I'm not going to mess about too much, as Steve is really putting the power down, but Zout is closing. He's coming in that Aston Martin. He is within a second now of the Ferrari, and it's game on for second place. I'm also just trying to keep an eye out. There you go, you can see Zout's intense concentration behind those blue visor. That's a good view. Let's go on this view. This is a good camera. I am keeping an eye out as well, of course, for THG. That would be, of course, THG TVL. He is catching in the battle for 6th position, so I'm going to clip through back to those two in a little bit of time. But Zout can see all of the dirt that's been kicked up onto the back of the exhausts of that Ferrari. With 20 minutes remaining, we've got an on-track fight on our hands, and it's a 2:19.9. He's a second faster than the Ferrari, and now the situation changes. It's one thing to catch a driver, it's quite another to overtake them. And in GT racing, that isn't always necessarily the easiest thing. There's Smoky Devil in 8th place. I just want to see. There's TVL, 3.3 seconds behind Fast Monkey. You can see Fast Monkey going around turn 16. So this is game on for the Porsche battle. THG might just behind standard below. He's just lapped him. We skip through the drivers and we get to Zout. Up through the gears for the Aston. Let's ride on board with Steve actually. Get that rear view spoiler camera, there we go. Oh, he's just run a little bit wide. The Aston Martin's definitely quicker at this point of the race. And Steve might have to think about defending into the corner. He goes a little bit deep. Does Steve? He goes deep again, but Zout gets over the curb, and that's just going to cost him a little bit of time. We ride on board with the Aston Martin, who will want that first place, no question about it. If he can get past the Ferrari, it's unlikely he will get to Whiting in time, to be honest, unless Whiting makes a mistake. But he's got to clear Steve in the next lap if he wants to do that. Nice speed through the corner. Is he going to make a little lunge? The Ferrari goes defensive and blocks the middle of the road. So Steve is going to try and fight and hang on to this second place, much to the chagrin of Zout. He'll be a bit annoyed at that. The move wasn't illegal. The defensive shape was fine. I think that's two cars going side by side. I think that's Smoky Devil lapping Race Nation boss there. He really wants to get on with this, does Zout. We look from the back as they make the climb up Eau Rouge over Radion. 17 minutes still remaining in this race. And Zout is closing, and he's right in the slipstream. If I can get to him. Will he do anything about it? Will he make a late lunge? He has a little look. But maybe he'll have to wait and see if he can fire his way past Steve when they come up to the traffic in front of them. Whether Steve will get a little bit off-footed by that will remains to be seen, but that might be Zout's best opportunity to go through. There's Whiting, you can see he's 9 seconds clear, so I don't think Zout will at all catch up to Whiting. Here we go then. Zout's going to look to the inside. This is his first real chance. He's on the inside. Steve gives him room. Runs a little bit wide. He put his nose there. And that is the Aston Martin through and into second position. And I think Steve saw it coming and just thought, I'm 16 minutes away from a championship. Let's play it safe. Let's play this situation safe. And he goes through the Zout into second place. He's looked rapid as the Aston Martin on his first appearance of the season. But so far, and look at that, he's off up the road. In fact, he's already put a second on Steve. So Steve just doing what he needs to do at the moment. Let's see if we can cut back to Fast Monkey, because I know he's very close with TVL. There they are. So we had one bit of on-track action. Are you ready for two? Because Fast Monkey is there at the moment with TVL right in front of him. The ride on board with the Porsche of TVL. He was fighting for 4th place earlier in this race. Drive-through penalty ruined all of that for him. 15 minutes remaining on the clock now. But TVL has pushed and pushed and pushed to get onto the back of this fellow Porsche 996 driver, 992 driver, I should say, and he would love it if he could get past and secure a top 6 result. He's only had one podium this season, interestingly enough, as TVL, despite being 3rd in the drivers' standings. He has actually only had one podium, which was, if I'm right in saying, my memory serves me correctly, way back at Watkins Glen. I think it was round 4 of the season. Since then, he's only ever had one other top 6 position, so he's just been really consistent with his finishing. He's had 3 top 6 positions, actually, I should say. He's had 2 4th places as well, but he has had a 6th place earlier on at round 1, so he could dovetail his season by having a 2nd, as Jamo takes a drive-through penalty. I'm assuming for track limits, so that's going to drop Jamo potentially out of 11th place and maybe down to 13th. But he is pushing his THG. Loads of different camera angles that we can use for Fast Monkey. This is fantastic. Oh, look at that. Whoa, that's a huge amount of speed. And TVL said, see you later, track limits. I'm going through. And yeah, Fast Monkey is really flashing the lights. And I wonder if that's in protest, because TVL did go off the road to fly past the Porsche. A little bit, yeah, and he's still flashing the lights. I don't think Fast Monkey's happy at all with that manoeuvre. That might be something to entertain the stewards with if they decide to do that. 13 minutes to go in this session, and Fast Monkey, I don't think he's happy at all with that overtake. What about further around the track? Calci's got the gap down to 10 seconds to Mike, but I think it's too little too late, unfortunately, for Calci. I don't think he's going to catch Mike in time. Noblar is 13th, so Misha is on her way to definitely, probably, I reckon it's going to be 7th place in the drivers' standings. Jamo didn't drop down any places, but that's because he's a lap clear of Noblar and Calty, so that's why he's remained in 11th position. It's been a long slog for Chamo, but he's almost home. Steve is now 2 seconds behind Zout. His last lap was a 2:21.5. Zout's was a 2:20.3, so 1.2 seconds clear. Zout was a little bit quicker than Whiting on that last lap, but right now, with 11 minutes 57 seconds to go, Whiting is on his way to a race victory, a second of the season. He'd be delighted with it. And for those that have stayed tuned in through this entire session so far, thank you so much for watching. If you are watching live on Twitch, please do give me a follow. It would mean a great deal to me. And also as well, if you're watching this via YouTube, please do give the video a like. That would be much appreciated when I upload it later. Or you can subscribe to the channel for some more commentating action later on in the year. So that's going to be more content to look forward to. I hope to do some more work with ACC Race Nation as well. It's a nice group to be a part of. I'm delighted to be here for what has been a very entertaining final race. And Whiting is at the front of it currently. Just have a little return to the garage and just get the timings up. So there's Whiting, you've got Zout, you've got Steve. Standard below is 18 seconds behind, which is kind of where he's been for quite a while now. He's been lapping at the same pace really as Steve, so it's just been matching him in the Mustang. You've got Jordan there, he's a little bit further back, he's 23 seconds back. Then TVL is a sector behind. Fast Monkey now 2.5 seconds back. Smoky Devil is in 8th position. Tony is in 9th place. He's only 6 seconds behind Smoky. That gap's come down. Absolutely, certainly. Mike's 2 laps, well, he's not 2 laps further back, but he's 22 seconds back in the last spot of the top 10. Then you've got Jamo, Calty, Noblar, and you've got Race Nation Boss still circulating in 14th, and that is the last place of the runners. To say 15, but it counts me as a driver. I'm currently not driving, so that's definitely not accurate. Let's have a little look. Looks like there's a bit of a debacle from the Fanatec guys. That's Don Granato, Motormouth and Stuart Packham. They're all complaining about the fact that their wheels are have had issues today, which has ruled them out. But we are into the last 10 minutes of this race here at Spa-Francorchamps. It's been absolutely brilliant to watch. It's been a pleasure to commentate on so far. Drivers are just getting themselves where they need to be. And they're circulating, doing their last few laps. I think we're about 3 or 4 laps away from the finish now. Fast Monkey 5 seconds behind TVR now, so if he wants that place back, he might have to go to the stewards for it. Did look like he'd gone off the road, but again, I only had one angle of it. There's Calty, he's got JPH who's just lapped him in front of him. Calty's going to finish in 12th place by the looks of it. He's quite far down on Jamo. I think he's about 70 odd seconds behind. So Calty in the 33 Ferrari 296. going to finish in 12th position. It's not his worst result of the season. He had, in his last race that he did, he finished in 11th. So 12th will be where he's going to end up. There's Noblar as well, which is Misha, who has been on the fringes of the top 10 a few times recently. She finished 10th last week. She has also had a 9th place. She's going to be 13th today by the looks of it. Just cut back to John in 14th place. Got involved in some incidents earlier on, which wasn't ideal for him. So he's going to finish 14th. Again, not his lowest result of the season. That would be a 16th at round 2, but he's going to get to the end. Just cycling through to get to 10th place, which is Mike. The number 66 Porsche. He's had quite a quiet race, has Mike. But he's going to finish that. I actually have no information regarding Mike's season so far. So, if my logic is serving me correctly here. There we go. I found him. So Mike is going to look like finishing the top 10. So he's had 2 races where he finished outside the top 10 the last 2 rounds, but he's going to get back in there for his first top 10 finish since round 5. So not bad for Mike. 9th place looks like it's going to go the way of Tony. He is 6.7 seconds behind Smokey, but he's looking unlikely now with 5 minutes to go unless Smokey has an incident further up the road. But for Tony, the Italian man, is going to have, out of the 5 races, including this one that he's done, it's going to be his second best finish. He'll finish in 9th place. Then for Smokey in the number 43, running in 8th place at the moment. It's going to be his second best finish of the season. He finished 7th 2 rounds ago. He's also had an 8th place earlier in the year, so he's going to round off his season with what looks to be an 8th place. As John comes into the pits, probably going to put some new tyres on, try and go for a fastest lap, I wonder. 7th place, going to go the way of Fast Monkey. Although watch this space, whether he decides to put in a protest against the overtake that was made on him before. So Fast Monkey, he's finished 7th at the start of the season. He's going to finish 7th by the looks of it at the end of the season, unless that protest changes anything. TVL, Tom Van Luke, the Belgian. He's not had a podium this season. Well, he has had a podium this season, I should say. He's only had 1. If we can get to him, that would be really great. There we go. But he is going to finish in 6th place. He started the season with a 6th place. He's going to finish the season in a 6th position. So, not too bad for him. Jordan, he'll be happy with 5th place. He'll be absolutely delighted with 5th place, will Jordan. Considering he finished 2nd last week, and then the other week, you believe, in his first race of the championship, he finished 9th. So that'll be a nice way for him to finish the 2 hours. Standard below, 2nd in the Drivers' Championship. He's going to come up short, it looks like, in these remaining 3 minutes. But Tom will be proud of the season that he's had. 2 race victories, 2 podiums. It's going to be a 4th place today. But I'm sure that he'll be quite pleased with the season that he's had. And maybe next year he'll be in line for potentially a championship victory. Who knows? But he'll be right in the fight, that's for sure. I will come back to Steve in but a moment. Zout, 2nd place for him. He's less than 5 seconds behind Whiting, actually. He's absolutely been flying in this stint. But I think it might just be a touch too late. I don't think he's going to catch up in time. Is the 101 Aston Martin V8 Vantage. He is going to have to slot in. But for a first result of the season, he's done a great job. And I think he can be really pleased with the performance he's shown today. I think his pit stops let him down, because he could have been on for a race victory, but he won't be too disappointed with the speed he's demonstrated tonight as he goes off the road again at turn 16. But this man has been in a planet of his own today. Simon Whiting, he's been absolutely flying in the number 19 McLaren 720S GT3. He's had a race win already this season. Who knows? Maybe next season Whiting could be one for, if he can get a full season in, if he can get a full season of races in, might be challenging for the championship. But he has crossed the line to start his final lap. He's a second slower than Zout, but he's got 4 seconds to play with, so he can cruise home now. Can Simon? He has been absolutely fantastic today. His consistency has been brilliant. He might have pitted earlier than the other two, but he's made his tyres last, and his strategy call was spot on. But I am going to give this final lap, most of it, to our champion elect in these next 4 miles, providing he doesn't do anything daft in these remaining 4 miles. Steve has had an unbelievable run of form since round 4. You know, he won the first race of the championship, he was absolutely flying, and then round 2 and round 3 it all went wrong. You know, he finished outside the top 10, he was 17th, then he was 13th at the respective races of Barcelona and Zolder, but then he fought back at Watkins Glen. He had a 4th place, 2 third places, then he was 2nd at Monza, then he won the race at Cota, and he has been brilliant today. He won't win the race, but he won't care about that a jot in the number 5 Ferrari 296 GT3 car. He won't care, because he is on his way to a ACC Race Nation Championship. The timer has officially clocked to 0. He can enjoy these last few laps. He's 11 and a bit seconds clear of standard below. I will briefly skip forward to our race winner. He's just approaching Blanchimont, is Whiting, 1989, for the last time of these 2 hours in that McLaren. Fast Monkey has got a drive-through penalty on the final lap, not ideal. He's just got to get his braking right down through the gears. He brakes a little bit early, does Whiting. He won't have a care in the world. He's going to take a second race win of the season. It's Whiting, 1989, with the victory here at the Spa. 2 hours. It's Zout in second place. What a drive. But it's Steve, 986, in the Ferrari. What a season. What a performance today. He's going to be the champion of ACC Race Nation GT3 League. Well done to Steve. He'll be punching the air in the cockpit. He'll be delighted with that. What's going to happen to Fast Monkey with his drive-through? We'll find out later. Standard below crosses the line. He's in 4th place in the end. A lonely run to 4th, but 2nd in the Drivers' Championship. He knew it was an outside shot going in, but he's done well tonight. He's confirmed that position. Here comes JPH. Probably one of the happiest men in the field, to be honest, with 5th position. He got his car all lined up in the end. Well done to Jordan. That's 5th place for him. A good recovery drive from TVL. And even if he does get a penalty now, it doesn't matter really, because Fast Monkey has got a drive-through, so he's going to get a penalty for that. He's flashing the lights as TVL as he comes towards the final few corners. Showboating a little bit on this last lap. He's been through the mill. His drive-through penalty certainly put him back, but he's there for 6th place. Mike's already finished. Fast Monkey is going to serve, well, he's going to try and serve his drive-through on the final lap. Gets it slowed down. Just trying to see if 8th place is... Yeah, Tony Manley has finished. So Fast Monkey's going to cross the line and serve his drive-through. Who else is on track at the moment? Jamo is on circuit. He's going to be the last driver to come across the line. I believe everybody else has finished their laps. Yep, there we go. So that is your final standings on the left-hand side. What a race that was in the end. Zout only 2.5 seconds away from Whiting after 2 hours. Steve, your champion, in 3rd position in the Ferrari. Standard Below takes 4th and 2nd in the drivers' standings. 4th in the race. 5th for Jordan. 6th for TVL. 3rd in the drivers' championship. Fast Monkey gets an 80-second time penalty, but he should be fine for 8th place ahead of Smoky Devil. Tony Manley in 9th position. Well done to him, with THG Mike finishing in the top 10. Jamo 11th, Calty 12th, Noblar in 13th. You've got John in 14th, the last of the race finishers. Then you have Don Granato, who didn't finish with issues with his brake pedal. Ferdle, who we're unknown in terms of what happened to Ferdle. Stewart, who had his issues with his throttle pedal. Big Jeff, who had sustainable damage on that first lap. Otak Vasic, we didn't find out why he went out. Biker Wolf had some issues technically as well. Motormouth had some technical issues too. And that is that for the evening. Well, that has been an absolutely thrilling event. 2 hours, a little bit different from the norm. But the drivers have been put through the mill here this evening. It's not been an easy race for them in the slightest. It has been an absolute challenge. But they have survived it. They have got through it. 51 laps of Spa in 2 hours is a good set of speed shown from our drivers this evening, who finished on the lead lap. Well done to those that did. And that is that for today's stream here with ACC Race Nation for the GT3s, the final round of the championship. It's been a pleasure and a privilege to be able to commentate on this event this evening. If you are watching live, thank you for those that are. We are going to be uploading this onto YouTube within the next 24 hours, so do check it out. Information will be posted about where that will go on the Discord. So if you sign up for the ACC Race Nation Discord, you can have a look on there, and they will tell you where you can go with exploring any of the last 2.5 hours of the qualifying session as well, and the carnage that went on at the start. But in any case, thank you very much for listening and watching today. I've been Jack TM53, your commentator for ACC Race Nation tonight. Thank you very much for watching, and wherever you might be in the big wide world, have a good one, and see you for the next race.